We're back. I know, so soon too. Pretty cool. Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee. Now, originally, I was not going to do this video until Saturday, but then I saw Mirror Indy. They had a article about all the craziness that was happening at the city county building. So I'm like, you know what? We're going to do this one first. I lost my little pad thing from my headphones. I'm upset about that. So before I do Saturday's show, I will be getting a new pair. But let's just get into it.
Good evening, everyone. It's 5:30 p.m. on Wednesday, April the 16th, 2025. Welcome to the...
I see Fiona McCormick wearing her sunglasses as usual, like the professional that she is.
Public Safety and Criminal Justice Committee of the City County Council, in the Public Assembly Room of the City County Building. We do have 4 items on our agenda this evening, and we'll start our meeting with introduction of our councilors. On the first row, Leader Hart.
See Carlos Perkins is in his Wakanda wear.
District 20.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Josh Bain, District 21.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul and A, District 22.
Thank you, councilors, and Councilor Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Carlos Perkins, District 6.
Doctor of Ministry. And I see that Carlos Perkins is getting the Ozempic look right now. Looks like he might have AIDS. Yeah, just like Allie Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brianne Delaney, District 2 on the north side.
Oh, wow, she took her sunglasses off.
Thank you, Chairman. Jessica McCormick, District 16, West Side.
Thank you, Dan Boots, District 3, Washington, Lawrence Townships.
Jolly Rancher engaged.
And top row, Chairwoman Carlino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Krista Carlino, District 11, West Side.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, everyone. Keith Graves, District 9 on the Indianapolis East Side.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Frank Mascari on the Southeast Side, District 19.
Thank you, councilors, and Leroy Robinson, Chair of the committee. With consent, I'd like to move to Proposal 107 first on the agenda. Thank you, councilors. Proposal 107, 2025, reappoints Fred Purvine to the Emergency Services Agency Board. Mr. Purvine, you want to come forward, please?
So it's 4 minutes of bullshit. Let's just get into the good stuff.
You have been here once or twice in the past. Motion carries. Thank you, sir, for your time.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Up next, Ms. Peterson present yet?
I don't care.
I think she was stuck in traffic. Up next is the mayor's appointment approval of 106-2025 of Andrew Merkley as the Director of Office of Public Health and Safety. Mr. Merkley, you want to come forward, please? Welcome. This comes before us. Mr. Merkley sent us an email yesterday that contained a lot of information. His presentation and his background is also included in our packet. Mr. Merkley has a presentation to share with us today with the public, and you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, for the opportunity to come before you this evening as the nominee for the Director of the Office of Public Health and Safety. Before I get started, I'd like to thank the staff from OPHS who are here in support, as well as my husband and other folks from the city and
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
And our partners out in the community. Thank you. I'll begin with my background. I obtained my bachelor's and my master's of public health from Indiana University, and started my career with a short stint in Washington, D.C., working for Senator Joe Donnelly. I followed that up with 7 legislative sessions working for the Senate Democrats at the Indiana State House. And during that time, I had the opportunity to work on policies very similar to those that we work on here in OPHS. Things like implementation of ethnic studies in our high schools here in Indiana, the reduction of license reinstatement fees so that people can get back on the road and back to work. As Director of Latino Affairs, I had the opportunity to engage with our Latino community and work on policies like in-state tuition and licenses for undocumented immigrants.
Are you fucking kidding me right now? Really?
About 5 years ago, I had the opportunity to join the Office of Public Health and Safety as the housing specialist, working with Rodney Stockman, who has been a mentor to me as I've learned about homelessness and the best ways to solve for that. I then had the opportunity to be the administrator for the Division of Homelessness and Eviction Prevention, and that's my most previous role. And now I'm here before you today as a director. As the administrator for that division, just want to highlight a few of the most recent projects I've been working on and the accomplishments that the division has had. The Tenant Advocacy Project, which you all probably know as TAP, is an eviction avoidance program that is in all 9 small claims courts across the city, as well as the Marion County Superior Court. On your screen,
you know, the majority of these evictions are because people are not paying their rent. That's literally all it is, by the way.
Is some data in a dashboard. Throughout this presentation, you will see dashboards that we are working to create for our agency and the various programs.
So it's mostly black females that are not paying their rent. I think that it's probably single moms that are not paying their rent.
That we have. The Tenant Advocacy Project, again, is helping those folks, those tenants in the county who are facing eviction. And the map on the screen indicates where the highest number of evictions are being filed in the county. In the middle of the screen demonstrates the demographic that the TAP program is serving, which is predominantly African American women. And that is the same demographic that the Indy Rent program serviced when it was in operation. On the right of the screen is the total number of folks that both our legal aid teams and our navigation teams have served since the program's inception.
Prince.
I started my time with OPHS during the height of the pandemic.
You did not second thoughts. Now you
and had the opportunity to oversee the implementation of the city's non-congregate shelters for our homeless neighbors. That experience and what we learned from those operations has helped us to understand, helped us to implement winter contingency operations and the future housing hub and what that will look like. I think it's important to highlight the successes that we had this winter. This is the first time that the city of Indianapolis has engaged in any way in winter contingency outside of the pandemic. Wheeler Mission for the last 30 years has been the primary, has held the burden of winter contingency, and they came.
Isn't Wheeler Mission the place where all the rapes are happening? I thought there were like guy-on-guy rapes that were happening at Wheeler Mission.
Into the city early last year, indicating that they could no longer take on the entirety of that burden. So the city jumped into action. We brought together several stakeholders from the city, both philanthropic and service providers, to come up with the best way that we could help reduce that burden on Wheeler Mission. First way we did that was to work with the Assessment and Intervention Center to open up beds and reduce the requirements for entry to that facility. You'll see that over 500 unique men and women were served during this winter at the AIC, with 21 of those guests moving into recovery services, which is really what we were hopeful for everyone that was entered into
What
the
is that?
AIC.
Is that tissues? Is that like a box of tissues or rubber gloves? Either way, it's kind of, is it the tissues so they have the bums have somewhere to jerk off? They're just not like jerking off on the floor like a bunch of animals?
AIC services. Additionally, we stood up School 68, which is an IPS, a vacant IPS school, and partnered with them and Aspire Indiana Health to serve over 61 families with children at that school during the winter. Over half of those families were able to move into permanent housing with just under 4 months of operation. And the rest of those families were either self-resolved or were referred to other shelters. So no one went back to homelessness from School 68. As I stated earlier, the housing hub, this is the most recent renderings of the exterior of that facility, will be influenced by what we've learned from winter contingency and the pandemic. We expect that project to break ground later this summer, and it's one that I've been a part of since the building was since the inception.
How
of
much is
facility.
that costing the taxpayers?
So I've talked a little bit about what I've done, but I want to make sure I highlight the accomplishments of the OPHS team. First, I'll start with our Division of Community Nutrition and Food Policy. Again, this is one of our new dashboards. It's highlighting the Lyft Grocery Access Program. Again, there's a heat map here which discusses or which shows where the majority of those rides are going. It also demonstrates the time of day and months where a majority of those rides are taking place. As we move into the future for OPHS, it's going to be critical for us to identify which programs in this particular division are most effective.
$32 million, by the way. $32 million. $20 million from the IHCD, Indiana Housing Community Development, and an additional $12 million. So $12 million of your tax-paying money is being used for how much? 150 beds for a bunch of fucking bums that would rape and kill you if you're lucky in that order. A bunch of drug addicts. Oh, and by the way, this allows anything to happen in there. There are no restrictions for this low barrier shelter. That's why it's called a low barrier shelter. Low barrier shelters have no restrictions. You could do drugs there all you want. It's unfreaking believable that we're even funding this thing.
How we can maintain sustainability for those programs. The next division is our newest division, the Behavioral Health Division, which oversees the Assessment and Intervention Center as well as the clinician-led community response teams. The Assessment and Intervention Center in 2024, sir, I won't go into all of these details, but it provided services to about 50% of those served were white, and 46% of those served were African American or Black. What's important here to me, as I look at things through a lens of housing insecurity, is that 90% of those served at the AIC were housing insecure. The clinician-led community response team, which is active in the North, Downtown, and East IMPD districts, received 1,224 calls in 2024, and they were able to respond to 738 of those calls within their service area.
Okay.
So what's next for these programs?
I like how they put on their Latinx. Holy shit. Unbelievable. This administration is an entire joke. You want to know why nothing ever gets done? Is because of this crap.
In an intervention center, we want to continue to refine the programming there and make sure that we're getting it right so that more people will access those services. We're also exploring the design of the shelf space that exists there.
We're just going to deport them all. That's all we're going to do. We're going to deport all these bums.
The clinician-led community response team, again, program refinement, making sure that we are doing a great job where we're already engaged, and as well as what does expansion look like should funding be available. And it's likely that we would move into the Southeast District next. We're also considering whether or not it's appropriate to obtain state accreditation so that we can receive calls from 988. Our reentry division is doing a great job in the reentry lobby over at the Criminal Justice Campus. And this is, again, another dashboard. I think what's important to take away from this is, again, the housing insecurity that those re-entering from jail are facing. And so as we look to the future for reentry, it will be really important to make sure that there is a direct pipeline to housing for folks as they re-enter. And so
you're going to have a bunch of pedophiles and rapists and you care about them so much. Why don't you just let them stay with you?
We'll be working diligently to make sure that we can identify programming that ensures housing is available. Our community violence reduction team continues to do a great job. You can see the trend there on the chart of the number of criminal homicides continues to go down. Since 2021, we've seen a 31% decrease.
I like how they point out on 2021, but they never talk about 2020. When you had like how many homicides? And by the way, it's still over 200. There we go. 2019. Here we go. 2019, 154. That was the last time that we were under 200. And are they saying criminal? Yeah, criminal homicides, not homicides in general. I like how they like to twist this verbiage up. They love to twist the words up. Well, you know, technically it's a criminal homicide, not a homicide. Well, if you were to do homicides in general, it's over 200.
I'd also like to highlight our fellowship program. 31 fellows completed the program last year and graduated, bringing us to a total of 49 graduates since the program's inception. Also last year, the Indy Peace launched the Indy Peace Hospital-Linked Violence Intervention Program, a first of its kind. This program is a partnership with IU Health Methodist Hospital to provide immediate intervention to gun violence victims at the hospital. Our community violence reduction team will continue to intervene and reduce the number of criminal homicides in the city, as well as focusing on youth prevention efforts as we move into the future. A little plug here, we will, the Summer in the City program will be operational here soon, and registration will open, providing activities to youth during the summer. The Office of Public Health and Safety has experienced tremendous growth over the last 5 years, and I've been there to witness it. We grew incredibly fast, due in part to COVID-related funding, and it was necessary for us to grow to meet the demands of the community's needs, especially during the pandemic, so that we could reduce violence in our community. But now that that federal pandemic funding is gone, it's critical that OPHS identifies the programs that are most effective. We appreciate that the City County Council has recognized our significant growth and impact in our community by increasing OPHS's budget, which has allowed us to continue operationalizing OPHS's work outside of the pandemic. And so to meet our goals of stability and sustainability, we're going to work on streamlining our processes, both internally and externally, working again on data collection and making sure that we're demonstrating the effectiveness of our programs, aligning our programs across divisions, identifying efficiencies in our programming, and all of that will lead to sustainability. With that, I will take your questions.
Oh, damn. That's it.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Comments or questions, councilors? Councilor Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Andrew, for your presentation. I also want to say thank you for taking the time to meet with me in my district to talk through your vision for this particular position in the office, and to reflect a little bit on your work. I have two questions, if that's okay, Mr. Chairman. My first question is around your overall performance. How would you rate your overall performance as the administrator of the Division of Homeless Policy and Eviction Prevention?
Is it a scale of 1 to 10?
Could be.
Okay. You know, I feel strongly that that my performance has been at least an 8 or above. There are things that we haven't been able to accomplish, whether that's been funding related or challenges with various partners. But I think ultimately we've been able to implement eviction prevention efforts that didn't exist prior to my time with the city, and grow that countywide. And we've been able to begin addressing unsheltered homelessness, and we'll continue to do that as we bring new programs online.
Thank you for that. I will say, as we shared in my office, that the issue around homelessness in our city and county is there are root causes for it. And until we decide that we are courageous enough to allocate funding to address some of the root causes.
So what he's saying is, hey, we need to tax people more so we can allow these drug addicts, these pedophiles, these rapists, we need to give them housing. Yet Harley Perkins over here, doctor of ministry, does not want to open his church to them. Yeah, he has a church in Pike Township. I think it's a black-only church. And but he doesn't want to open up his church to all these drug addicts.
we'll continue to see some of the issues that we're seeing. So thank you for
Standard
being reflective
Democrat,
in your own
hypocrite,
leadership and
standard
the time that you
Democrat.
spend in the office. My second
Speaking
question is
out
around
both ways of the
staff
mouth.
morale and office culture. That has been an area of concern for this committee. What specific actions will you take to improve internal communication, build trust, and foster a positive work environment within the office?
I like how he can only ask questions with the phone. Like if I had main questions, I would just like, hey, you know what? Culture kind of sucks. What are you gonna do about it? Because we just had last month a lady, I don't know if it was OPHS, it was the deputy mayor. I forgot what her name was. And that was questionable. A whole bunch of people came out and said, we don't want this lady to become deputy mayor.
Yes, it's important to recognize that OPHS has incredible employees. They have incredible hearts, and we're doing really tough work. And it's important for me as the director to support our employees and the hard work that they're doing, make sure that they know that they have my support. But it's also important that we hold the team accountable, and we can do that by ensuring, again, that we have streamlined processes in place, and that we are collecting data and ensuring that there's a really adequate communication from the top down.
Thank you, Councilor. Additional comments, Councilor Booth.
Standard answer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Merkley, for your presentation tonight and also meeting with me as well. I was quite impressed with
Hey, 2001 is back, baby. We got the chin strap. Is that what's going on right now?
the insights and comments you shared with me. A couple quick.
It looks even worse when you have like the double chin, like a double chin strap thing. I don't know what the hell he is doing right now. He should have just kept the rape goatee.
Questions. The first one with the LIFT program.
The rape tee.
Do we enjoy any type of corporate discount with any of these carrier services? Since our program's giving them $300,000 a year, I would expect them to give us a discount.
Counselor, I am not an expert on the LIFT program yet, so I can get back to you on that. But I'm fairly confident that we do have a reduced rate for those rides, which helps offset the cost for
Great.
those.
Yeah, I would encourage you to keep that and maybe go for a greater discount next time around. Secondly, as I've shared with you in the past, and I think everyone in this room probably knows, we're very concerned about the eviction rate in this county and the deplorable extent to which we allow eviction.
What do you mean? This is what happens when you're dumb. Hey, I'm going to rent a place. It costs this much every month. If you do not pay me this, pay this amount of money to me every month that we both agree to, you will no longer live here. It's literally that simple. Well, because you have dipshits like Danny Boots over here, dipshit Boots, you're like, I don't understand why people are getting evicted. It's almost like if I'm paying for something, I should receive something.
Which, as Councilor Perkins alluded to.
And also, if you're worried about the eviction rate, let them stay with you.
Adds to the systemic issues that we face, and we're on a crazy treadmill. We're leading to the problems that we're always scrambling trying to solve, and it makes little sense to me. So just share a little bit, if you would, sort of the edification of the public.
This guy has a basement, too. So, let's see. He's got a 1,400 square foot home, plus a basement that's 1,000 square feet. But I know the address that he put in for his CFA 11 is not the correct address.
What your plans are and the progress of the TAP program and its current state and where its future state.
Sure, thank you, Counselor. Eviction is the front door to homelessness, and we have some of the highest eviction rates in the country in Marion County. So it is important that we are intervening and preventing evictions before they occur. So far, we've really been in intervention mode as it relates to eviction. We've been able to grow the program, the TAP program, from 2 townships now to the entire county and the Marion County Superior Court to stop some of the court shopping that was occurring. As we move into the future, we want to partner with one of the other eviction diversion programs that's in Lawrence Township, and have one efficient program, so that we can be efficient with taxpayer dollars, but also so that we can provide a more robust program. Prevention is the next step. We need to be making this program. We need to make the public more aware of the program, and we need to be able to get in front of folks who might be at risk of eviction before that eviction is ever filed.
Basically, what is happening now is that if you are if you have a problem, this is what they're doing right now. Only because, hey, I track this stuff. You know how many meetings that I go to? I go to a ton of meetings, and this is what they're doing right now, at least in Wayne Township. If you're in trouble, you go to the trustee's office and you give them all your paperwork, and they say, you know what, I need some money for rent, blah 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 blah. All right, so if that doesn't turn out, what normally happens is that you there's some talking, there are conversations between the court and the rental place on making sure that you're not evicted, or they kind of help you out, or you have like a month to get all your stuff and get out of there. And all this really stems down to is you're not paying your rent. That's what this all stems to. If you want what do they say? The reason why all this is happening is because people are not paying their rent. That's why.
How do you anticipate implementing that and identifying those at risk?
Yeah, so we have partnerships with the townships, but one way that we've discussed getting in front of some of those evictions is by partnering with the school systems. A lot of the school systems have the counselors that work with families, and they know which families are at risk. And so having a direct pipeline from the counselors at the school who can identify those families and get them to the Mayor's Action Center so that we can begin the process of assisting them is one way that we can address that.
Sure. Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Ane.
Oh, boy. At least we get a chance with the
Thank
Republicans.
you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for being here this evening. Mr. Merkley, congratulations on being nominated by Mayor Hogsett as the appointment for the OPHS Director. I appreciate the bullet points that you gave us this evening as it relates to the future of the department. One thing that I would really encourage you, and I'm glad data collection and management is something you've identified. While I can agree that the criminal homicides have declined by 31% from 2021 to 2024, I can't agree that it's conclusively because of OPHS. I can't say there's a direct correlation between the reduction and the work that your office is doing.
100% agree, by the way.
And I think that we need to better understand how we can tie these things together. And if we can, then I will be your biggest supporter.
Which will never happen, by the way, because that has nothing to do with OPHS. And by the way, if you want those numbers to go down even more, stop voting for Ryan Mears and all these the magistrates and the judges that were just voted in again. You guys are basically screwed. I mean, Marion County is totally hosed because we have a bunch of fucking retards that live here and are like, you know what I care more about? Crime. I want more crime. That's what when you vote Democrat is. All right, I'm going to stop.
But until we can, I will be constantly asking for the data to back up the claim that OPHS is directly responsible in some way, shape, and form for these type of numbers. So that would be number one.
Well said. However, we both know that nothing's going to happen.
Number two, I was curious, are you aware of some of the issues and concerns we've heard from those grant recipients over the last few years as it relates to dollars for violence interruption? And do you understand the issues that they've had with the way that program's been rolled out, with the way the dollars have been dispersed and tracked?
Before that, by the way, I have emailed Paul N.A. multiple times. I've actually emailed people, Republicans, multiple times. The only two people that have replied back to me are Josh Bain and Derek Cahill. Michael Paul Hart, funny enough, only emails you back one time, and now he has not emailed us back, me or Indie Reporter back at all. And it's been like almost a month now. After I mogged him so bad back in November about this whole weed thing, he refuses to email me back.
So, Counselor, are you referring to the elevation grants?
Yes.
Actually, I take that back. He did email me back one time, but he will never email you back a second time. As in, hey, I'm going to email you, you email me back, I email you back with another question, that he won't email you back.
The elevation grants, that's something that I had not previously been a part of. And so the last few weeks I've been doing my best to get caught up on that. I can't speak exactly to the challenges that the grantees have faced, but I was with them last night at one of their monthly meetings. And it was a great opportunity to connect with them and hear about the important work either the current grantees are working on or previous grantees. Similarly to what I discussed around data collection and accountability, we have been in constant conversation over the last few weeks with the Indianapolis Foundation and discussing how we can, as we move into the next round, how we can be more efficient in getting those grants rolled out and make sure that we are standardizing the data that we're collecting and reporting out. And so as we move into the future, we will be holding them accountable to those reports.
Well, I appreciate that. I look forward to an update. You know, every...
Hold on. I don't think you guys understand how much money Indianapolis Foundation gets. I'm looking at this one right now from 2022, and it's like $38 million. Who is by the way, CICF affiliate, and gave $38 million. Gave $38 million in grants. And by the way, CICF is the same place that Leroy Robinson works as a certified gift giver.
Every bump in the road on this grant process is a bump in the road somewhere in our community that has a ripple effect.
Chill out. You aren't going to do anything anyway. Right there, $58 million in revenue for the Indianapolis Foundation. Yeah, Indianapolis Foundation. Unbelievable.
Throughout our community. And so it's so important to make sure that when we hear from grant recipients that the process has issues, that we identify, are they our issues, are they issues on the recipient's part, and how can we work with them to make sure it's a smooth, efficient process, because those grant dollars are highly sought after, the funds are limited, and the work is extremely important. So I look forward to an update as we get into the budget season and beyond. I think my last question for you, and I think I've asked this of some folks with OPHS in the past, when we talk about all of the different programs, particularly those that were funded and have been funded through the American Rescue Plan and that COVID era, where we put a lot of money in the OPHS budget, I never felt like there was ever a strong review process of those programs, and there was never really a strong, conclusive determination whether those programs were effective, whether they should continue and be funded, or whether they weren't effective and those dollars should return back to the general fund, or whether they should return in some way, shape, and form back to the office to support something else. So I'd really encourage you to get under the hood. That's been a common description of what we're looking for, I think, at OPHS. And
what the crap is going on with this video?
And we talk about efficiency, and I think that one of the ways we can be efficient is whether or not we have government efficiency in spending. So I am always waiting to see the first director come before this council and say, we underspent, we're going to return money back to the general fund. I'm confident that every person in this building could do so. I just encourage you to find those opportunities and really
that will
put us
never
on a
happen.
Strong path forward. Thank you.
That will literally never happen.
Leader Hart.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'm just going to piggyback on that because I had something similar written down. And this is something that we had talked about prior to the meeting when we were having just a one-on-one. And I do want to thank you publicly for, of all the people that we've had in front of us in this type of situation, I think you've sent the largest packet of information beyond anybody I've ever seen. So I'm grateful for that, grateful for your time and commitment, the amount of times you've reached out. There was no shortage of that, so I just want to publicly acknowledge that. But also one of the things that we had in that conversation, which alludes to what Councilor Renee is talking about, in which there's an ordinance that requires not just OPHS, right, but any city department that received funds during the CARES Act, they should have been reporting to the respective committee during that time on everything that Councilor Renee was just talking about, how the dollars are spent, who are they spent, is the program working, is it not working? That way we could have a better understanding when moving forward with budgets when we're looking at what you're requesting or when we're talking to you about why you're requesting certain dollars, that it makes sense. And so my first question to you is, can you commit, if appointed, to retroactively looking at some of those past, not just some of them, but all of those past distributions and finding the efficacy of those programs?
Counselor, I can commit to looking back at those programs because we've already really begun that process. Several of the programs that I demonstrated the dashboards during my presentation, those are ARPA funded programs, or were ARPA funded. So as we look back at the data and we start to analyze it and create those dashboards, we'll be able to tell you more about the effectiveness.
All right. And the other question here is, you've been in the role some time now. I don't know exactly how long it's been, but enough time to recognize things I'm sure you like, things you don't like, at least to come up with some changes that you want to make as the leader. Can you just describe what some of those changes are that you would like to make if appointed?
Yes. I think it's important that, to your point around efficiencies and reporting back, that the team holds each other accountable to the standards and really creating standards for the first time in our agency for everyone to follow. And so Joe Brinkman, our legal counsel, and I have been in a lot of discussions around how we can standardize a lot of our procedures. We've created standardized data metrics that will be in all contracts related to demographics. We are working with the Office of Finance and Management on making sure that we have a procurement process that OPHS can follow. And so, again, just standardizing and holding people accountable are some of the changes that I'd like to see in the agency.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Leader. Councilor Bain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And again, I'd like to echo my colleagues when it comes to your transparency and communication over the past several weeks. And with all the information that you've sent us, just two things I wanted to touch on. And one of those is what Councilor Renee brought up, which is the 31% decline in criminal homicides between 2021 and 2024. Nationally, the criminal homicides declined between 2021 and 2024 by 30%.
Yeah.
Or, right there, on par
with everybody else,
the rest of the nation. So yeah. I do think
and that's what happens when you peak at something. That what naturally is going to happen is that it's going to lower. It's very rare that it's going to get even worse. However, my gut feeling for this year is that it's going to be just as bad as it was in 2020/2021. I think, I don't know, I just got a feeling about it.
We need to do some digging in that and see where we can maybe differentiate ourselves from surrounding cities, because if maybe there's another city that didn't do everything that OPHS did, but yet their homicide rate went down the same rate as ours. I think that's...
I'm not talking about Boston. I think those numbers are flubbed.
Something that we have to do some due diligence on. And then lastly, it's not really a question, but you can feel free to respond, is when we met, we talked a lot about the homeless encampments around the city, and especially on the near south side.
Yeah.
I think of the one right there on Fountain Square off of Virginia Avenue where people have been literally building decks, outside.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd call it a deck, but it's definitely like a wooden structure, like a little patio. And someone also has been building like wooden signs, and I think they have like a makeshift toilet as well. They were burning a tree down not long ago, and I drove past there, and like there's a section of the grass and like tree where it's completely scorched. Because I was like, boy, is that true? So I drove down there, and it's right in Fountain Square, right off the highway on Virginia. I mean, it's in a populated area where people are walking around a lot too. It's not a good look.
Outside the encampments, and you said that, if I misquote you, please correct, but you said to give you till the end of the year to get the homeless encampments
Crap is going on.
cleaned up. I'm prepared to do that. I think you deserve that. But that will be something that at least I'm closely watching over the next year. Yeah, because I do really think it's a blight on our city. I went up to Chicago multiple times over the past few months, and I haven't seen a single homeless person.
What? Where are you going in Chicago? Like Highland Park or something? I mean, go over to McCormick Place. They're always over there.
But yet you can't go anywhere in the city of Indianapolis and not see homeless encampments all over the place. So, that's something I'm going to be closely watching. And
I wonder if he's talking about like off the highway. You can see them off the highway. Maybe not in Chicago, but definitely Indy.
Forward to working with you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Boots, you have a final question?
Yes, if I may, sir.
You may.
Back to Counselor Hart's comment, and I think, if I recall, it's been some time.
I will be. If I see that chin strap again, I'm gonna go even harder. Listen, Bootsy, you need to shave that crap off your face, okay? Go back to the rape tee. I do not care, but definitely take that 1998 garbage chin strap off your face.
Sponsors.
It's 2025, baby.
That said, when we're getting $420 million, we want to know where the heck that money goes. We've been a little disappointed in that reporting process.
You look like a goofball.
Because it has not been timely. We understand we're still awaiting some reports about crime prevention, the IU report and the foundation report. So I would just encourage you that going forward, we're going to be watching those metrics much more closely.
Yeah, because you don't have any money.
And that during the grant process, to make sure early on that the recipients know exactly what they're obligated to do. Because we're not in a position anymore, particularly with the budget, as we like to say, we're drunk on ARPA money. Now we're in the middle of a hangover, and it's going to get worse.
There you go.
So we're going to be tightening belts, and we're going to have to look at every dollar through these grants, and only those who can justify their existence are going to be kept alive. The others, sorry to say.
Really, that's what you should have been doing the whole time. And this is what happens when you are a lazy elected official, is that everybody is asleep at the wheel. They don't know what's going on. I mean, this is why the GOP doesn't want me in any of those positions at all, because I would be hounding them, hounding all these department heads. What the hell is going on here right now? And by the way, this administration has had so much turnover, and this is the problem that they're having, is that we get these new people in there, and they have to take the shit from the previous person. Like, I wasn't even here, or like I was not in this position. I get the frustration that you're having, but I'm not that person. And now all these counselors are asking questions like, "Hey, we know what a bad department head looks like. Don't do this shit."
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Chairman Graves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for your presentation
Can't
today,
wait.
Andrew. I appreciate the opportunity to meet with you recently. As I mentioned, I would like to see more collaboration with the grassroots organizations, more intentional and official collaboration, where we may have seminars, not just for the top end, the well-known grassroots organizations, but some of those organizations that are deeply embedded in our communities across Indianapolis, particularly in Council District 9, where we have organizations or churches or just individuals that have a caring heart that are out helping our men and women and families that are suffering from hunger, those that are facing eviction. I've participated personally against the recommendation of East District IMPD leadership in violence interruptions myself.
What have you done?
Because I get a phone call from some of those that are in the community, in the battle. I'd like for you to bring them in an organized manner and talk about how they can partner with OPS more officially.
What do you want them to do, though?
Whether it's funding, that's one great thing.
Oh, there we go. That's what it is. Hey, you know what? We got some of these grassroots organizations, and if you just give them some money, they'll be able to help. That's not how it's going to work anymore.
It's just process and procedure, how they can really be intentional in being a part of
stop voting Democrat.
Impacting the things that they are here to help, whether it's reentry, whether it's tenant advocacy. I'm constantly contacted to go in my own pocket for these things. So I really would love for us to have a process in place, a phone call that they can make, and a person that they can reach in OPHS, whether it's one of those banners that you cover. You will officially be over these banners, and I want to make sure that you have reached out to not just the well-known organizations, but those that are deep in our communities that are doing the work, and that starts with just more community engagement. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor.
Awesome.
Anyone else in the Councilor Carlino?
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Director. I, too, met with you, appreciate your time, have worked with you in the past on programs like the Pathway to Employment program. I've personally seen firsthand your work in even not just housing, but employing those most vulnerable and impacted neighbors that we have here in our community. And I've seen firsthand how you do lean upon data and glean some of those things. So I know that you will deliver on those things as you have done in the past, and just want to really thank you for stepping into this role and look forward to working with you on all of those things. I think it's important to look at those programs that are not only critical to the city, but really near and dear to the members of this body, some members of which have worked really hard with you and in partnership with OPHS on the TAP program, CLCR, and others. Those are absolutely crucial. And
there a question?
As we look forward to that budgetary piece, please let us know the things that we need to do as the fiscal body to help advocate for those programs that we don't want to see fall detriment to the so-called hangover, as Vice Chair Boots referred. So look forward to working with you, and Mr. Chairman, look forward to supporting this appointment tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
You know,
comments or questions, those in the audience for Proposal 106. Mr. Stars, do we have a list of folks that signed up, or we?
List is there.
Excuse me?
List is there.
Okay.
You want me to read the?
Wonderful.
Yep, you want to read?
Before we open the floor to public comments, please remember that if a committee 8 on the list.
Yep, just call the first 3 for us.
Unhoused neighbors.
Oh,
okay, I put KT. Thank you, Council and Committee, for being here. My name is KT, and I serve as the Executive Director of Allies for Humanity, a grassroots organization that has worked directly with unhoused neighbors and housing unstable families throughout Indianapolis for the past several years. Today, we come before you not just to speak in opposition of the appointment of Mr. Merkley as the director, but to also offer reflection on a broader crisis of leadership, accountability, and care within the system that are meant to serve our most vulnerable residents. Allies for Humanity is here to share a portion of our story, and more importantly, to support the beautiful families, if you call them, that are willing to be here to come to speak tonight. We wish that they didn't have to be here to publicly speak, but we believe deeply in transparent leadership.
They cry.
And sometimes that means as leaders we have opportunities to learn through uncomfortable experiences. We ask that you receive them with grace, compassion, and a willingness to listen as they share some of their most personal traumas and truths. These young people and all of those who will speak are sharing from the heart. Their voices matter just like all of ours. May their courage be honored, and may their testimony move all of us closer to a system that serves everyone with dignity and care. This is not merely about one man or a title. It's about a department that under current leadership has strayed from its obligation to uphold the health and safety of all people in our city, especially our unhoused community. who are most vulnerable to the consequences of misaligned leadership and systematic inaction.
Where does accountability play into this?
Under Mr. Merkley's position as administrator, over the last 4 years, the city has documented 588 deaths of unhoused neighbors over the past 4 years.
How many of those were overdoses?
In all of your emails, you have my full testimony with supported documentation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for coming down this evening.
Good evening. Thank you for your time. I feel like just maybe ripping this up.
Go for it.
It's what I wrote so that I could get through the testimony, but
awesome.
To stay germane, I'm going to read what I can and then speak from the heart. Because what we're facing isn't about one role or one person, but that's what we're making it about today. And I appreciate Andrew's commitment to holding people accountable, because that's what we're here doing tonight. And it's what's going to have to do if we're going to change and do it differently. I hear comments here on the front row that are disgusting and
really?
Maybe gavel me for that, but I'm not going to do anything except speak my truth. We don't make people invisible. We help them. So I'm glad that some people on this council or this committee aren't up for this position, because you would not do a good job. And
actually, they would.
That's what we're here to help Andrew understand, because it seems like it's a done deal. And us here sticking out our necks to hold people accountable, and it's not just Andrew, it's all of us. Now, how are we going to work with Andrew? Because we're the ones, boots on the ground, with families that are being hurt and damaged and harmed.
From what?
But we need to work with Andrew.
Yeah.
And in many regards we have, but that was a frustration. We met in his office for a year, monthly. He graciously welcomed us in. We brought other organizations in with us, but they trickled away. Why? Because we've all been there before. It's talk, talk, talk. And in many regards, it's because we're not funded. If this is a priority, and in our world today, we put priority based on money. That's how we prioritize things. There's a bill in the session right now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming down.
He got the double buzzer. You know what's so funny? You know, you can clip this all you want. I care about people that care about themselves. And, you know, you can bash me all you want, clip it all you want. I care about people that understand, hey, I fucked up and I'm trying to do better. How can I do better? Because there are so many things that you can do to do better. And I'm talking about the drug addicts, because that's most of the homeless, most of the bums out there. Go to Garfield Park, go to Pleasant Run Parkway. And you can see all those bums are completely littering the stream over there. The encampments over there that is just flooded with litter is unbelievable. So don't tell me, rainbow hippie, that, oh, I'm supposed to care about these people when they're throwing garbage all over the stream. Fuck off.
Next couple names, Mr. Stowers, please.
We have Jessica Sergashev, Carrie M. Clue, and Melanie Gloth. We have Brenda Callan first. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Ms. Calhoun. State your name for the record, please.
Brenda Colleen. This system that has failed to scale its response with the growing need. And when we examine the root causes, we must ask,
the root cause.
Where is the disconnect in leadership between the city and the state in releasing critical funds to support the Housing Hub initiative?
You know, Republicans, this is what you should start asking people. Do you want your taxes raised up? Will you pitch in more money for all of this? You say, oh, we're not getting enough state money. Well, because we have other things that we need to be focused on, not a bunch of drug-addicted pedophiles. If you want to pay more taxes, why don't you just build a GoFundMe for it, and then all of you guys can pitch in for it. In fact, you can even volunteer to work there.
Berkeley has been directly involved in efforts to launch the hub, yet the delay in resource deployment and communication has left both providers and those in need in a prolonged state of limbo. And let us be clear, limbo is, in this context, does not mean pause or waiting. It means individuals experiencing extended trauma, compounding mental health deterioration, nervous system deregulation, and in many cases, inhumane conditions where people are living in structures and environments not fit for habitation. Scientific research has consistently shown that when the nervous system is trapped in a prolonged state of fight or flight, it leads to a cascading effect of physical and mental health decline. This includes higher rates of chronic illness, substance abuse, cognitive impairment, and even premature death. Each day of delay, each moment spent in survival mode translates to greater suffering and long-term harm for those who are already surviving the hardest realities of our city. Only those within OPHS may know the full truth behind the holdup. But the leadership of that office, including Mr. Merkley, should be held accountable. Transparency has been sorely lacking, not only with the public, but with the very partners doing the day-to-day work of supporting our unhoused neighbors. When leadership fails to provide clear timelines, open channels of collaboration, and visible progress, it damages trust and reinforces instability. That is not the leadership our city needs.
Thank you for your comments, ma'am. Thank you for coming down.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jessica, and I'm a part of Allies for Humanity, and I'm here representing for equality for our unhoused neighbors. I work with them directly on a day-to-day basis, and a lot of the needs are not being met in the community, and they're, you know, back to what Brenda was saying about, we've heard a lot about the structures and the things that aren't being done for those structures for people to live habitable lives. And there's just simply not enough like shelters or funding for things that are needed for the people that's unhoused. And a lot of them that suffer from different deviants of mental illness, they go unnoticed because people don't, you know, take the time to really get to know like how we do for Allies for Humanity. We sit down and we talk with them, we socialize and try to get to the root of the problem. And we're one of those small, you know, just a couple of us grassroots trying to make a difference to bridge the gaps between our city leaders and the day-to-day causes that we're there trying to help the unhoused. And there's a lot of people that is unhoused, unfortunately, because of their mental illness and because there's just not funding or enough organizations out there to help for the cause. So I just want to say that, you know, I'm here to try to represent to help them, because a lot of them go unnoticed and unheard. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming down and sharing your testimony with us. Mr. Dowers.
Next we have Carrie Clue.
Hi.
Did I get that right? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. Hi, my name is Carrie Klein.
Okay.
I'm trying not to get emotional, but me experiencing homeless for the past 6 months due to an unjustly termination of my job, everything snowballed and caused me and my family to experience the homelessness and spending time.
Why does it all seem fake right now?
At the School 68 building from December 16th to March 31st. From the first time we walked in, it was unwelcoming, uncomfortable, and being exposed to the mold, the urine, the burst pipes.
So you are renting in a shitty apartment?
A rat literally scratching at my toes. Open yellow sewage water running down the kitchen walls, the detestable food. Showering in below zero weather outside, if we had water. And then,
so there's at a homeless shelter, right?
a few weeks after being there, my grandson was hospitalized, and
Or
his lungs will never be 100% again.
what?
And they're still testing him. He still has lacerations on his lungs from whatever he was exposed to. And
what? Fentanyl?
I just pray that things will be better for any displaced families in the future. Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you for coming down for your testimony this evening. Mr. Stowers, additional names, please.
Melanie Gloth, Isabella Gloth, and Jocelyn Gloth.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, my name
Hello.
is Melanie Gluth, and I was part of the winter contingency program at the shelter.
Oh.
I am here to oppose of Mr. Andrew getting the director position.
It looks like you're married.
Because while in this program, from aside, like was mentioned, from having freezing cold showers, lack of heat at times, and my children being sexually assaulted in their cubicle, and staff not doing anything about
did
it
I
or
not
calling
say?
anybody.
Did I not say it? Hey, aren't there rapes happening at Wheeler Mission? We know that's who they're talking about, by the way. They're talking about the homeless shelter. Probably Wheeler Mission. Did I not say that was happening?
Acknowledging it pretty much. I had to inform 3 different staff members and still nothing was done.
So what does the city have to do with that then? Like, what does his position, he doesn't run Wheeler Mission.
My son would always be crying because he would get in trouble if he went into the play area if I wasn't there. Mind you, I worked nights at FedEx, and I had to end up leaving my job because they said for the safety of my kids and all the ruckus that was happening in this program that I was no longer able to work. I was told that we didn't have enough funding to get my kids to and from school by a man named Eric, and he said that Andrew said that the funding was limited and it was only for certain situations. They did not want to help me get to work a couple times, though they did the one time, and they were hoping that they didn't have to again because they said it was $50 to get there and $50 to get back, and it was very pricey. I was just trying to get ahead, and then it took me back like 5 steps.
I see a ring on your left hand. Where's your husband at?
Steps all over again. Luckily, I was one of the people that did get housing. But it was a lot of trauma to get to that point.
You look like a drug addict, too.
And I just hope that they are better prepared if you continue this program, because it did help me massively, but at the same time, it traumatized my children and myself. Thank you.
Okay, so all right, this is what I gathered. This is what I gathered from it. There were some asshole kids there, and they were bullying your children to the point where your children were not going to be safe there. So instead of the administration at Wheeler Mission doing their job, they were probably like that teacher from IPS that was going to be having a filmed Fight Club.
Mr. Stowers, we have 2 more names.
Isabella Gluth and Jocelyn Gluth.
Those are the last 2?
Those are the last 2.
Thank you. Isabella and Jocelyn.
Hello, Council. My name is Isabella Gluth. I was in the program at the shelter with my mom and siblings. I'm here to oppose appointment Andrew Merkley, as director
Okay, how old are you? Because you have a tattoo.
because it felt like I was in jail. Staff would be rude.
Dude, there are so many questions right now.
Always mad when we sat in the hall for Wi-Fi. Everyone always had a problem. I got called a lot of inappropriate names, even by adults. One night there was also a 22-year-old woman that put her hands on me and then started to switch the story up and say she was on my bed. But she wasn't even to be in our area. She was hovered over me, and I got up and went backwards onto my sister's bed and told her to get off me, please, because she was pregnant. I also got thrown on the ground and hurt my knee. The shelter wasn't how I imagined it to be. I didn't always feel safe, and a lot of fights and uncomfortable, scary times. I hope in the future they can make the program more comfortable for families. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming down and for your testimony.
My name is Jocelyn Gluth, and I'm a
How do you have a phone?
Residents of the
Both of you have a
Indianapolis.
phone.
I'm here to oppose the appointment of Andrew as the director of the Office of the Public Health and Safety, and I want to share you why this matters to me, to not just me, but many others. When I was in the shelter, I was treated poorly, and the staff would always
I
be
just
yelling
saw
at us
something.
because we were in our rooms. I was sexually assaulted in my own room, or cubicle, as they'd call it. I told my mom about it, who told the shelter staff, and they proceeded to do nothing about the situation. I could not go to school because Andrew would not give it, like we didn't have the funding or whatever. And the parents and kids were always fighting, and as a child, I felt like I shouldn't be seeing this. The staff were like sitting outside the playroom, letting the kids get into fights. A bunch of kids were ganging up on my brother, calling him fat, and a bunch of other slurs. And I got into a fight with 2 other girls for my brother because they were about to jump him with a bunch of other kids.
I mean, I have a pretty good idea, and of those though, you probably have a pretty good idea too.
They were outside not doing anything, and the situation was never solved. And the kids went to get their dad, and the dad was like, "Where's the man of the house, or where's the man in charge?" And my mom said that our father was dead, and he continued to say that he was not talking to some snowflake slur that I can't say. The staff didn't really try to do anything. I wasn't allowed to go in the playroom, and anytime I did, I would just get yelled at or called slurs by a bunch of kids, and I felt like I was a problem there, and I didn't feel safe. I felt in showers like I could never shower because every time I went to shower, the water was always below 0, and it was snowing. And the one time I actually had to shower, I got really sick and stuff. So this is why I don't think you guys should continue on to this program, because
They're not talking about the program. We're talking about the person. But
Thank you for your testimony and for coming down this evening.
We got one more.
Yep.
Brandon Kennedy.
that in the background sounds like Predator.
Good evening, councilors. I first want to state that I was not planning on speaking tonight at all.
Wonderful.
But hearing these families that I've worked directly with, at least the first initial 50 families through the nonprofit organization Home of Hope, I felt that it was best that I stand with these families and speak on behalf of a lot of the things that they went through and they encountered while they were in the Winter Contingency Program. Myself and my organization is in fear of retaliation for speaking out, and there are a lot of other organizations that are not here present today that deal with housing in our community, and I highly encourage you all to reach out to some of those organizations to have private conversations to see if you can find some truths to some of the things that have been happening and how they have also and privately opposed Andrew Merkley for this position. I'm going to try to read through some things that I just jotted down as I was listening to the families and hope that I get through all of it. We're having a conversation about leadership. A great leader acknowledges not only their accomplishments, but their obstacles in addition to accountability. None of the winter contingency delays nor obstacles were presented in this presentation that I'm sure took some time to put together. Winter contingency was supposed to start November 1st, and it was supposed to end on the 31st of March. Winter contingency did not start to go into effect until approximately December the 2nd. I'm not taking into account that there were some other planning things, but when we started dealing with families, it started around December 2nd. I think there should be some questions as it relates to the delay. When we're speaking about Wheeler Mission that Mr. Merkley also related to, Wheeler Mission gave the notice back in May of 24 that they were going to need to scale down on what it is that they were able to provide. What happened during the time of May of 24 when they said that, going up until November 1st when winter contingency was supposed to start, speaks to what Mr. Merkley's plan was. I didn't see that listed in his presentation. Actually, in fact, I didn't see any obstacles listed inside of his presentation. We'll move forward. Is it possible to be granted more time by the council?
You can state your name for the record.
My name is Brandon Kennedy.
We'll give you 30 more seconds.
There we go.
We speak about homelessness, and Mr. Merkley said none of these families went back to homelessness. There are families that are here right now that are staying in hotels. They're not permanently housed. We also were operating with this program with a budget of approximately $1.2 million. Of that $1.2 million, when we started placing families into the hotels, that also was not mentioned in Mr. Merkley's presentation. When we placed those families, it cost approximately $22,000 to $24,000 a week to have around 40 families in the hotels at any given point in time. It would have cost, if winter contingency started on time, it would have cost approximately $575,000 from November 1st to March 31st. And when we got to the beginning of March, there were still questions about what to do with the remaining $600,000.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your time.
And thanks for coming down this evening. Anyone in the audience care to speak to this proposal?
We had additional people, Barb Williams, Pastor Fletcher, and Aaron Spiegel.
Barb Williams, Pastor Fletcher, who was the last one?
And Aaron Spiegel.
Aaron Spiegel.
Spiegel.
Those were the last three.
Spiegel.
Thank you. Your name for the record, please, ma'am?
Good evening. My name is Barb Williams. I've worked with the homeless community for the last 10 years here in Indianapolis. I've worked with Andrew and several of the people in the audience here at the COVID Hotel, at the Crown Plaza. We lovingly called it the COVID Hotel because it was in the middle of COVID. I have a great deal of respect for everybody that was at the shelter, that worked at the shelter. They did the best they could with what they had. Unfortunately, the city of Indianapolis and some of the folks that are involved in this need to look at this as a weather contingency program, not a winter contingency program. We have people that do not want their kids to sleep in the back seat of the car and have them forget them when they walk into work. Why should we expect those same families to sleep in their cars when it's 102 degrees outside and in the cars? The weather, the contingency program needs to be planned way farther, way in the future than it was this year. We were scrambling. We never should have allowed people to shower outside when it was 0 degrees.
Oh, that's what was happening.
I would ask any of you to do that just one time, and you would not have done that any time with any program. The showers were literally outside in 0 degrees, and we were asking people to come from the shelter with their kids and shower in those conditions and then go back inside. It's no wonder that kids got colds. It's no wonder that there were sicknesses. Again, I am here not on behalf of anyone at the shelter. They did the best they could, but the city has to start doing better to deal with the problem of homelessness, the problem of families doing in the homelessness situations, and thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming down this evening.
We have less than 20 minutes left.
Good evening. My name is Pastor Reginald B. Fletcher, pastor of Living Word Baptist Church, and my church is in the community where which the School 68 is. We had, I was referred to Mr. Merkley by Rabbi Andrew Spiegel, and he never reached out to me to be able to speak to me. So I went to the shelter to offer our services. Our church has actually adopted that entire community to be able to address homelessness, mental health, and the dignity of life for everyone in that community. We came and we talked with Mr. Andrew, shared with him what we offer. He never responded to me after our initial meeting. And then one of the challenges, I speak to you, Councilman Evans, one of the things that I would suggest is that they actually listen or even solicit the counsel of those that are actually doing the grassroots work in the community to make a difference. We have no budget, but we address homelessness. We have several community workers in our community. We have a mental health hub that we address those issues. There are several grassroots efforts that needs to be addressed, as well as the idea of homelessness. It does not start with homelessness, but it actually leads to homelessness. One of the challenges, again, is leadership. And the key to leadership is learning to listen.
Okay, well, let me tell you what, buddy. I'm not going to listen to a drug addict. And this is coming from a guy that has been homeless before. Back in 2017, I was living in my van, yes, down by the river, and it sucked. It was awful. But I wasn't some drug addict bum, like most of these people are. Go down to like White River Parkway, and you'll see all these people that just want to live in their shanty. I don't think you guys understand, too, that these people are trespassing and they do not want to be part of society. They want to be part of this like shanty regime of, I just want taxpayer money, give me food, and I'll be good over here. This is a way of life for most of these people. They want it this way. And we're just supposed to be like, no big deal.
Council members, committee members, thank you for your time. Rabbi Aaron Spiegel, Greater Indianapolis Multi-Faith Alliance. I'd like to read into the record the email that I sent you. We are writing because we have serious concerns about the recent appointment of Andrew Merkley as the acting OPHS Director. In a moment where state and federal dollars for housing are at a risk of severe cuts, Indianapolis needs and deserves dynamic and courageous leadership in the housing space. We just need to ship them from the city of Indianapolis. The director must demonstrate leadership in fighting and protecting Marion County residents who are vulnerable. In our years of doing housing advocacy together in Indianapolis, we have not seen this dynamic leadership from Mr. Merkley. In fact, in light of the recent failures of the city and OPHS to act with anything akin to compassion and humanity, the abject failure of the family winter contingency affirms our belief Mr. Merkley is not ready for this role. We're grateful for the council's willingness to discern and wrestle through the appointment process instead of rubber stamping individuals who have demonstrated loyalty to the administration versus results. We're frustrated that the process of choosing a new director did not include stakeholders and partners in the city who play a critical role in sustaining the fabric of housing security in Indianapolis. We intended to share our feedback privately with the administration, but no engagement or effort was made to reach out ever. We now feel the urgency to reach out to this committee. We hope to see more transparent processes and offer our willingness to be part of that. We are clear that OPHS is more than just a housing entity, but the gaps and missing opportunities we've observed from the housing division over the last few years raise alarms for the entire entity. We hope you take these concerns seriously, slow the appointment process down, and engage the community broadly to solicit what we know is resounding feedback that this confirmation needs reconsideration. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, sir, and for coming down this evening. Final comments or questions from councilors? Councilor Mascari.
Mascari.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My district is inundated with more homeless than any district.
Garfield Park.
Garfield, the Fountain Square area. It's lined up on Leonard Street. You know, we have a low barrier shelter in my district. It's on Hannah. It's called Hannah Commons. It's full, 65 people.
Oh, and by the way, Hannah Commons is a shithole. There are so many problems over in that area.
Full within 30 days. We need 10 or 15 more units like that or facilities. Right now.
Okay, so each facility it costs is, I mean, the Lowberry shelter is going to cost $32 million, right? And he said he wants 10 to 15 of those. So let's do $32 million times 15. How is that going to cost? Almost $500 million is what Mascari is saying we need to spend, right? Mascari wants to charge the taxpayer $500 million for more homeless shelters. And by the way, this isn't staffing it. This is just building it.
Housing hub, that's not going to be enough. But until the state and federal government comes up with some more money, we're not going to be able to do it. Their plan in the State House is to make it a crime and make them criminals and arrest them. That's not the answer.
You know what's funny? He doesn't know what he's talking about. Plus, guess what? The San Jose mayor, he's wanting to do something similar. A Democrat at that. He said, if we're going to give you treatment, we're going to help you out. But if by the third time, if you don't accept it, we're going to jail you, which I think is a good program. But Mascari over here, it doesn't want to open up his home to these bums like none of them do.
I just pray to God that something happens with the state and federal, but it doesn't look good. But
open you up your home, Mascari.
Appointment, because I met with Andrew. His heart is really there. He's going to do the best he possibly can.
One review.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Bain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director, just curious what your feedback is after hearing the testimony.
Councilor Bain, we're going to circle back to that. We won't have we won't have Mr. Merkley respond. It was too much. 9, 10 comments. Respond to what aspect of that? So we won't do that.
Something else.
But you can ask him the question specifically. We want to ask him to respond to 10 to 12 different comments and experiences. So you want to be more specific?
Director, what's your response to the conditions at the homelessness shelter that almost everyone here spoke about?
Mr. Merkley?
Yes, Counselor. So the school is 70 years old. It's been vacant since 2018, but we did use it previously in 2021 for the same purpose. It is not lost on me that it is an old school, and it had challenges. It had challenges in 2021. It still has challenges. But it was the only option for us to provide shelter space for families this winter. And we provided the most robust case management services that we've ever provided during winter contingency through Aspire Indiana Health. That includes behavioral health care, medical care. We provided rides to school. We provided rides to work. We fixed people's cars. We have done a lot during this winter, and I think the fact that 50% of the families that were in that shelter are permanently housed is a win.
Councilor Bain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And then the testimony from the young girl who sounds like experienced untoward trauma. What's your response to that? Because it sounds like it wasn't investigated.
I was never made aware of that occurring, but we are waiting on the report from winter contingency from Aspire, which, if that occurred, they'll provide us with any incidents from their incident reports that they gathered during their time operating.
Okay, I still plan to support you. My specific ask is that upon adjournment of this meeting, you meet with them and start investigating it tonight.
Thank you, Councilor Bain. Councilor Hart, Leader Hart.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to draw a few things together, not to any one particular comment, just things that we've discussed this evening, things from Councilor Graves, Councilor Boots, myself, even members of the audience. And it's something that I'm picking up here, and I think it's one thing we haven't discussed quite yet. And, in a lot of these organizations that are here supporting, not here today, but that support homelessness in Indianapolis are members of the continuum of care. And the reason I want to pull them into this conversation and get your feedback on this is because I've heard it, one, from the accountability side, right, where I think we've talked about, Councilor Boots brought up, but also from folks who are in the community that are grassroots doing the work, but not even a part of, let alone this organization, Continuum of Care, but aren't even part of the grant process. I think there was a pastor that mentioned that, Councilor Graves mentioned that. And so what I'm curious to know is, we've heard some pretty traumatic stories about things that are happening where we, as a council, are sending dollars. And what I'm curious to know is, how much influence does the continuum of care have on the selection process of where we're sending these dollars? And are members of that continuum of care receiving these same dollars that are providing these types of situations that we're hearing about this evening?
So the city does not oversee the continuum of care. There's a third party.
That's what I'm saying.
Council that makes up the Blueprint Council, which seems maybe.
Merkley, speak a little bit louder into the mic for us, please.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Stop being all soft-spoken. We want a strong leader.
The majority of our funding to solve for homelessness comes from the federal government through HUD, and that funding is then through partnership, runs through the Department of Metropolitan Development, and then the continuum of care helps to decide how where that funding goes. I do think that there has been at times a breakdown between the members of the continuum of care and some of the providers, that you can name off the top of your head, and the grassroots organizations. And I think that has been a challenge, especially for our faith-based organizations.
And so the point I want to make, Mr. Chairman, is that I can't put all the responsibility on Mr. Merkley here, right? Because it sounds like these dollars that we receive from HUD are going there. And to my understanding with the continuum of care, it's a requirement on us to have one in the city by the federal government to receive those dollars to begin with. So I think this is a broader conversation on what we're seeing just in the public in general and what their experiences are. It's not on one person, it's not just on the city, but it's also, there's other stakeholders that we need to consider in this conversation as a whole. But I just want to make sure I brought that point to light when we're having this conversation.
Thank you, Leader Hart. Councilor Graves.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to say thank you to each and every one of you who testified tonight. You helped paint a more clear picture of what's happening to our committee, and it helps us carry those voices, your voices, into meetings and have the demands of what you've experienced at the top of our minds. So Pastor Fletcher, thank you. I've been to your church, and to those young people, thank you so much for your courage, and thank you for sharing your story. And I'm sorry that you had to experience those things. That doesn't sound like the work of a first-class city. I demand that we have a better response to a weather contingency program. Thank you for that new term, because it's been said, it's not just about winter, it's about inclement weather. I demand that we have a better response.
Open up your home.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Open up your home then.
Councilor Delaney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Merkley, given all that's been discussed tonight about the conditions at the shelter, can you provide us, I'm going back to whoever asked the question about grading yourself, can you provide us with whatever you can at this point? I know winter contingency just ended, like a brief assessment of, you don't need to go into what went wrong, but I want to know like what you're going to do this year. Like if there's anything that sticks out, and again, I understand it's super early, you haven't received your reports, but are there any major points that you can already tell that you want to fix or that you know that you can fix for this winter?
Yes, thank you for that question, Counselor. We are already planning for a weather contingency plan. We're planning for next winter. We've been planning since we started winter contingency this year. We've brought together members of the continuum of care. We plan to expand who we are inviting to those conversations so that we can continue the planning process. I think if the funding was there, I think that doing something similar to what we did with School 68 could be a great option if it was updated and had all the appropriate facilities to have on hand at any time to be able to respond to these weather events.
Councilor Perkins. Thank you, Councilor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to add my voice to this and echo a little bit of what Chairman Graves has shared.
Can't wait.
I think I think we can all agree that as a city, there's an issue around homelessness that needs to be addressed. I think what I would like to ask
people are dopes.
The administration, along with this council, is to convene a symposium around homelessness and how we address it as a city going forward. I think we have engaged in conversations over the last few months around some of the root causes of homelessness, and we recognize that one of the solution is more affordable housing. It's not more shelters, it's more affordable housing. I think we need a comprehensive plan.
Oh my God, you're an idiot.
To address this issue that if we don't, we'll continue to grow and decenter our neighbors that need our most support. That's what I want to add. Thank you.
Oh, look, I'm so fucking smart. You know what we need? We just need cheaper housing. Well, how did we get this problem in the first place, huh? Here's an idea. How about we limit of how many corporations can buy up homes? How about we deport a bunch of these illegals, and then you'll have a lot more housing. Why don't we also limit how many short-term rentals there are? It's very simple, but all of you are dopes.
Thank you, Councilman McCormick.
Oh,
Thank you,
great.
Mr.
Can't wait to
Chairman.
see what Fiona has to say.
I want to kind of tag along with what Councilor Perkins says. I think looking at systemic issues and root causes is important, right? I think everybody in this room would love to have a community where we don't need homeless shelters, right? Where we don't need, we don't have folks living in encampments and tents. And so I think that's kind of the goal.
Just
where
the
we
way
need to
of
go.
life sometimes,
Funding is a
man.
huge issue. When we look at leadership roles, I think my charge to you is we're human and we make mistakes. Being accountable for those and recognizing what they are and being able to move forward. As an engineer, I'm always like making the process better,
I'm
right?
an
What can we do to improve it? And so I think thinking in that, working with our stakeholders,
definitely not your diet.
as counselors, like my background's in engineering, so this isn't my area, this isn't my niche, right? So we need to talk to the people that are on the ground as well as our stakeholders. I think it sounds like we can do a better job with that, but again, we can always do a better job at everything. Nothing's ever going to be perfect, but we can always strive for that. And so I encourage the administration and you to talk with our community members and make sure as we're doing this, and then I would ask the chairman maybe in a couple months we could have an update on where the plan is and where things stand, so the community and as well as us can be informed on what's coming and where we can put in some information and insight to maybe help improve things as well.
Thank you, Councilor Graves. Councilor Graves, you have a comment or question?
I just wanted to say thanks to Brandon for his presentation on Home of Hope. My council president and myself had an opportunity to visit the work that they're doing out at on the west side, far west side of Indianapolis, near the airport. So thank you, Brandon, for your presentation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councilor Boots, final comment?
Yes. Thank you. One, I want to just make sure everyone realizes we've heard you this evening, and we empathize and sympathize with each one of you. You should not have been exposed or had to go through that. I do not blame Andrew Merkley for that.
Yeah.
I blame our system. I blame our state that has clearly underfunded mental health.
Okay.
And has yanked the rug from beneath our local communities.
What a dope.
And as it's been mentioned several times, the answer to most of this is funding.
We just need more money.
We do not have the funding. So I am not going to hold
Someone
a single
mog
individual
him.
responsible
Someone
for a broken
absolute
system.
mog him.
We are taking your comments to fix the system. That's why it is so important that you do come out. I am going to support Mr. Merkley tonight, and that's not voting
Someone
against you.
Take him to the
It's voting
shelter.
with you, because we're going to hold OPHS accountable, and they're going to come back and report to us, and we're going to make sure they're doing what you want to be done. So thank you for coming this evening.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Bain.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wanted to call to light, I've heard funding over and over again. And I've heard, the state's cutting funding, the federal government's cutting funding. The city of Indianapolis has the ability to raise revenue. So if you're losing out on funding, I don't know if it's necessarily fair to continue to blame the state or the federal government when you yourself have not maxed out the taxing capacity of the city. I'm not advocating for doing that necessarily, but it's a tool in your tool belt that you haven't used.
So true. Hey, let me check. How much is enough money, though? Hey, Democrats, let me ask you, how much is enough money? Because in 2023, California allocated $3.3 billion for homeless crap, and this funding was part of a broader $14.7 billion housing package for 23 to 24. Unbelievable. And by the way, they don't even know where the money went. There's another article that I saw that they've spent billions on homeless stuff, but they don't track the money. So how much money is enough money? That's all. Give us that number, all right? And then you can go start a GoFundMe or Give, Send, Go.
Thank you, Councilor Bain. Mr. Merkley, I'll finish with this comment. and I will echo what Councilor Bain said earlier about meeting with these folks here tonight. I think you should take them up on that offer. And if not tonight, in the next few days, at least show them you do support them, you do hear them. So I would encourage you to do that this evening and maybe set some time up the next few days to meet with these folks and share your thoughts and concerns with them as well, and give them a comfort in your position if you are selected tonight. So with that being said, we'll do a roll call vote. We'll do a motion.
So move.
And a motion will probably moved and seconded. Mr. Stowers, will do a roll call vote, please?
Councilor Perkins.
Perkins, yes.
Councilor McCormick.
They all voted yes. I already checked. So anyway, again, here's the article I found. California spent $24 billion on homelessness in 5 years. Didn't consistently track outcomes. So there we go again. Boots, Mascari, how much money is enough? Perkins, how much money is enough? Plus, Perkins, you have a church. You could always have these homeless bums go and live with you, or even take them in when it's cold out. All right. So anyway, of course, the rest of it is just appointments, though. But this is already a long one. So until next time.